I know you're looking at this chicken and thinking, what's plant-based about the chicken? Absolutely nothing. But the reality of it is that when you eat plant-based and you're the only person in your family eating that way, then that means that you oftentimes have to fix things for the family that you may not necessarily eat. And that's where we are tonight because so many of us as home cooks, as homemakers, we're having to make dietary changes, but the whole family is not affected. So because of that, we have to be able to adjust our menu plans and adjust our style of cooking to such a way that we're able to accommodate ourselves as well as our family. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. And I'm starting out with that item that's going to take the longest and the part that I really won't eat at all. So stay tuned and have fun. My main focus today is on that skillet cabbage because it's delicious and it's going to be the main part of my meal. So let's get it done. My family has bought into the fact that I am plant-based, and that is very helpful. But once I get into the kitchen, I do realize that there are other people living in this household besides me. So because of that, I try to prepare things that I can prepare that they love and that I will love as well. So the vegetable portion is always something that I can have, very plant-based. But I usually have something additional that they like. And tonight, they're going to have some air fried wings. So I'm in the process of seasoning those up with some house seasoning. We're keeping it simple. House seasoning, some smoky paprika, just a touch of salt. And I'm going to do that on both sides, get them into a parchment lined pan. And from there, I'll put them into the oven for 425 until they're nice and golden and crispy because that's the way they like them. Now, I just happened to find some macaroni and cheese that I had already prepared. Oh, thank goodness I didn't have to do that from scratch. But I usually batch prepare the macaroni and cheese, put it into smaller containers and freeze them so that when we want macaroni and cheese for a weeknight meal, I just have to pull out a container rather than having to go through the whole process. So I have one of those containers left, and we're going to get that into the oven while the wings are cooking as well. So they're going to get the extra, the chicken, the macaroni and cheese, and they're also going to have the cabbage. Now, I'm going to have the cabbage, and we're all going to eat those delicious corn muffins that I made. And if you didn't see that video on the corn muffins, you will want to go back and watch that. I'll link it down in the description box because, oh my goodness, they are so good and you'll love them. So we're going to get these wings in, and then we're going to get a few vegetables chopped up ready for the skillet. When you're preparing this skillet cabbage, remember we're going to start with a very hot skillet, and then I'm adding olive oil. Now you could use avocado oil, but I'm making sure not to turn the heat up too far. I just want it nice and hot so that it's ready to receive the veggies. While we're waiting for that skillet to get nice and hot and the oil to get hot, I'm using my favorite solution of Dawn dishwashing liquid, vinegar, and water. I use equal parts, and I use that to clean up my counter and anything that's on the counter. I do this often throughout the day, but especially after I've been chopping vegetables or working with any meat, even though I always try to put some type of chop food processor or chopper down so that we aren't actually touching the surface, but it's always good because you never know what splatters. So we're going to get this cabbage chopped up. I'm only going to use half of it tonight, and I'm putting it, taking off of the um, cabbage the outer leaves. Then we're going to chop them into about 1 by 1 inch cubes, and that way they're just so much easier to eat, and they cook up very easily. So instead of the cubes, I got to chopping, and so we ended up with rectangles, but that's okay. They're about finger-sized rectangles, and they're easy to eat without a knife. So we got that portion done. Now we got that good and rinsed and ready to go. And once we've done that, we'll be ready to move on to the rest of the vegetables. But you know, this salad spinner is so good for this because you can really get down in there, wash your cabbage well, and it's just so easy to rinse. Just a matter of lifting the container up and out, and all the liquid's left behind. So I purposely left it in, gave it a spin, and my cabbage is nice and clean. If you see too much debris, then you know you probably need to do it one more time to make sure that water's good and clean. All right, we're back to the skillet. We've got the cabbage prepped. I already had the onions and the carrots ready. So we're going to add the onions, and you notice you could hear the sizzle. That's what you want. You want that sizzle in the oven. So I'm starting with the onions. We're going to start that as our first layer. I am an onion girl. Almost everything that I put into a skillet is going to have onions first. So I'm adding some of my house seasoning, which is garlic powder, onion powder, and black pepper. Now for this is my option. I'm going to sprinkle in just a touch of red pepper flakes because we'd like it to have a nice spice, but not spicy, not hot. So we're going to let that cook, let those flavors bloom, and with each layer that we add into the skillet, I will do a little bit of seasoning. Notice I have not put any salt in because at this point there are going to be some other things that we'll add into this that may have a touch of salt. And I need to watch the salt in my plant-based journey. So we're going to add a little more house seasoning because we need to season up those carrots. I cut them on a diagonal because I want as much of the surface of the carrot to be on the skillet as possible. And that's going to caramelize those carrots and give them such great flavor. And that's what we're going for, good flavor. And once we get it to that point, then we're going to be ready. You see how those onions are starting to brown just a little bit? We're going to be ready to start adding in the cabbage. Now the cabbage looks like a lot for this skillet, but I tell you what, it's going to cook down, and it's going to be perfect. Now, I like to keep my cabbage at such a point where it's not going to be mushy. I just don't like mushy cabbage. The family doesn't. And when it gets mushy, nobody will eat it. So I have to make sure that I'm very careful with, number one, how long I cook it, and how high the temperature is. Now I'm going to add a bit of water, just a touch of water in, and also add a little bit of Bragg's amino. And the Bragg's amino is going to add a bit of umami and just a touch of salt. And we're going to put in later just a little bit of vegetable broth. And between the vegetable broth, the Bragg's amino, and if you want to add just a little more pepper, you can certainly do that, because this way we'll have a little extra from the mix. And then just toss. and let this cabbage cook. And you can see it starting to cook down. You can see the levels going down. I'll put a top on it for a few minutes, but this baby's going to be done in less than 5 or 6 minutes. So there it is. Oh my goodness. This cabbage is delicious, and I wish you could smell it because we love fried cabbage. And you know, it's always a family favorite. Now, it has great texture. It's not cooked to the point of where it's starting to really turn to that kind of yucky brownish reddish color. And I'm going to get it off, the fire's off because we don't need that anymore. And so we're ready to serve it. The macaroni and cheese is out of the oven for the other family members as well as the chicken. So I'm going to fix their plate first and then I'll fix mine. Now let's get the plate served up. Let's start with the cabbage. It's the big guys. See how good and hot that is? And I'm going to give him quite a bit of cabbage because I'm going to cut back a little bit on the mac and cheese. Because even though I know he likes it, but that doesn't mean that it's always as good for him as it should be. So we're going to have a little mac and cheese. Nice and hot. And I'm going to use these because this is my household. And we're going to get some chicken wings on his plate. His salad's already fixed. And his plate is ready. Now, does he want a few tomatoes? Of course he does. So I'm going to put a few tomatoes over here to the side. Add a little color. You should always have as much color as possible when you're preparing your plate for your family. Well, all right. The evening is just about done in the kitchen. And I'm going to prepare my plate. I have cabbage and those tomatoes, and I can have all the cabbage I want as well as any other vegetables. And so I'm going to just take a moment and eat some with you. Oh my goodness, this cabbage has great texture, and the tomatoes are good. The carrots are so sweet. And you know, normally when I prepare cabbage, I usually put a little sprinkle of sugar, but because I caramelized those carrots, I didn't need to do that. The carrots were really sweet, to be quite honest with you. So I hope you will think about your plant-based journey, and you will think about the fact that yes, you're preparing for yourself as a plant-based eater, but also preparing something special for your family.